Well, hi, this is Noah Bradley with Handmade House TV. Today we're going to talk about fireplaces. Stay tuned. So today I'd like to talk to you about how you can achieve the perfect fireplace. And a fireplace is a critical element to have in any homes. It's definitely, beyond a doubt, in the top 10 features that should be in any home. In my opinion, it's all the way up to the top 2. That and a front porch are critical to have. I've been very blessed my entire life to have a fireplace in my home, and it saddens me greatly to see so many homes nowadays built without fireplaces. Fireplaces have been in our lives for centuries. It was an essential ingredient for anyone in a home. No one would think of having a home without a fireplace. In fact, if you go back far enough in time, it was mankind outside with a fire, and then he created a shelter around him and that fire, and the two of them lived in companionship. And only with time did the house grow in size and the number of fireplaces increased. And it's only been in our generation that suddenly fireplaces have somehow or another been considered optional. And in my opinion, the benefits, the lifestyle, the joy, the pleasure that comes from having a fireplace far outweighs the small cost that a fireplace actually costs. And I'm not talking about the manufactured fireplaces. I'm talking about a real masonry fireplace. And that's what I'd like to talk to you today about, how to get the most attractive fireplace you can for a home. And one of the reasons why we want an attractive fireplace is that I and many other people, either consciously or subconsciously, we actually judge a home by the quality of the fireplace. If we come into a home and there is no fireplace, well, there is something odd going on. It doesn't feel like a real home. And if we notice that the fireplace is a manufactured one, it's a piece of steel made in China or somewhere else, then the feel of the entire home feels manufactured. And that's not what we're about on Handmade Houses. We want the house to be handmade, and that means that the most representative piece, the most enjoyable piece, the most important piece of a home, that it needs to be handmade as well. And when I go into a home, I judge the quality of the home by looking at the fireplace. I can tell immediately what I can find throughout the rest of the home by looking at the fireplace. And it amazes me sometimes where people will spend $1 million, $2 million, $3 million on building themselves a huge, elaborate home, but they'll give no thought to the fireplace at all. And so, again, I want to emphasize to you that we really want to build a quality fireplace. Now, and when people come into my home, they are immediately drawn to the fireplace. This is my fireplace, if I didn't already mention that. I'm sitting in my living room today, and I'm sharing one of my fireplaces with you. And when people come to my home, they're immediately drawn in the door. They catch a glimpse of this on a cold day, and they race towards it. They stand in front of it, they start talking, they'll turn around to warm all sides of them. A lot of people will sit on the hearth there and chat for a while. This is the draw, and this is what brings them to them. And by the way, I wanted to tell you that I removed all the decorations and ornamentations from above the mantle, the painting that was above it, and I'm just giving you the bare basics of what a fireplace looks like. I don't want you to be distracted by the decorating. I want to reveal to you the secrets of an attractive fireplace so that the fireplace will stand on its own beauty and ethics for what it is, and not for the embellishments and the decorations that might be around it. So let's start talking about the fireplace, this particular fireplace in specific. And is this a perfect fireplace? There's not one single fit-all fireplace for everything, but this is the perfect fireplace for this home and this room. And by the way, this thing is throwing off the heat over here. I've got the thermostat for the house set at 70 degrees. and this room is 78 degrees now. So anyone that tells you that a fireplace doesn't give heat, they're either building the wrong kind of fireplaces, or they're not familiar with what it is, what a good fireplace is. So let's go through one by one the details that we see over in this particular fireplace. And first of all, you can see that that there's a raised hearth down at the bottom there, down at the base. And the reason why there are benefits and negative aspects of a raised hearth versus a hearth that would be flush down to the floor. Historically, most fireplaces were built flush to the floor. It was down flush to the floor. The heat would come off of the fireplace, and it would keep the floor level of the room warm and comfortable. If there's a dog there, if you're laying on the floor, you want a fireplace down flush. And also it made it easy to sweep the dirt, any dirt that's on your floor, to just go ahead and sweep it directly into the fireplace, right across the hearth and into the fireplace. If any of the ashes come out of the fireplace, you can sweep them back into the fireplace. So it made easy cleanup both directions with regard to a fire. But there are advantages as well as raising the hearth to the height that I've got it right now, which is probably about 12 inches here. Sometimes I go as low as 10, but no higher than 12. And the advantages to having a raised hearth is, one, if you have a tall room, the room that this fireplace in has 12-foot ceilings, which is ridiculously high. But when you have a tall room, it's nice to get the fire up in the air some, so that it's not visibly squished down to the floor. Also, a fireplace for those that are standing, it's more appealing when the fire is brought up higher. I have even built fireplaces at countertop height, 36 inches in kitchens, so that's right up there and easily serviceable for those that want to cook in that type of environment. Also, as I said before, you can sit on a hearth. It's very enjoyable, extra space to sit if you come in from the cold and you want a quick place just to sit to warm up for a while. It's easy for that. Also, I find that a raised hearth is very easy for feeding a fire, for putting the wood in it, and for cleaning the ashes out of it, that it's up higher and there's no bending down all the way to the floor to do that. And then one last advantage I can tell you about a raised hearth, and that is that if you're the type of person that wants to sit over close to a fireplace and prop your feet up off of a chair right on the hearth to warm your feet or whatever, it provides a stool a footstool that's real close to the fireplace. So let's move on. The next thing we notice about the fireplace, first of all, let me comment about the stone. And that is that when it comes time to build the fireplace, you want to use the best stone you can find. When I get my stone delivered to the site for the chimneys, for the foundation, I always select the absolute most attractive pieces of stone I can to use to build the fireplace out of. You don't want to build your fireplace out of scrap. You want to build them out of your choice. And this particular fireplace, what I did is I actually would save a single stone from a lot of memorable places in my life. When it came time for me to look for land, I would pick up a stone. If I was out with a family adventure, I would pick up a stone. If I built a particular home for someone and it held a lot of personal meaning for me, I would acquire a stone from that whole job. And so each one of the stones in this particular chimney actually holds a memory for me. So not only when I sit over and enjoy the fire in the evening, I also have a wall of memories to look at. Then the next thing I wanted to, let's talk about here we have an arched fireplace. An arched fireplace is historic, not only going back to Roman times, but also early American. It's amazing the number of pioneer, primitive, home built by farmer who built an arch in his home, and it's really not that complicated. And let me throw up a couple of pictures of how we create, first of all, a wood arch just out of plywood, and I do it at a slope, at a circle, at an elliptical angle, so that it's visually appealing to my eye. So I just freehand it with a pencil until I get just what I want, and then I cut it out with my jigsaw, nail it together, and then we shape the stone to fit up on the top. And then we set it in place with the arch form holding the stones in place, and then we remove the form, and voila, you have a standing arch as a proud keystone. It breaks up the monotony of a single rainbow effect going on with the arch if you have that keystone, that center stone that sticks up just an inch or so above the rest of them, enough to make it noticeable, but not enough to make it distracting. And if you notice here on my fireplace, also you'll notice that the legs, I call them, there are legs on both sides of the arch, and you notice that the legs, the stones of the legs need to be about twice as wide as what the arch stones are in order to create a solid effect without creating such bulk on the sides that it's distracting. And then you'll notice that for this particular fireplace, it does have large stones that we shaped that surround it, that create more or less a picture frame around it. And I got these large stones from a bridge in Pennsylvania, and they create quite a visual, dynamic look. Again, something that I needed to establish in this particular room because of its size. But for a smaller log cabin or something or another, actually you could just take away that surrounding frame, and what you've got is a very attractive fireplace that would look good in any home, in any log cabin. And then you'll notice that I'm not going to go into a great deal of discussion about how to properly build a masonry chimney. Any mason viewing the charts that are available in the code books or any good book on how to build a chimney will tell you they'll be able to properly build a functioning chimney that draws. And so that's not the problem with 90% of the masons that I find. The problem always seems to come down to building an attractive fireplace. There's a lot of talented masons that know how to assemble and build a solid chimney that will last for centuries. But if you want the aesthetics of it being right, you need to establish what you want in order to make that happen. And you'll notice one thing about this particular fireplace, and when you look at other fireplaces, you'll notice that a lot of them, the keystone area of the fireplace, that rock will be blackened. And from a smoky fireplace. Frequently that's not because of an inferior chimney that some mason built. It's generally associated to improper fire lighting techniques by the person that owns the chimney. And that is that you start out with a fast, hot fire of newspaper and kindling, and you really got to get a lot of heat roaring up that flue pipe in order to get a draw action going on, and then you can worry about building a more stable fire with coals that will keep you warm and stuff. But if you start out with a lot of big green pieces of wood and not much kindling, you're going to get a real smoky fire, and the flue itself of the chimney is just not drawing properly at that stage. But a couple of details I could tell you about the construction of the fireplace itself is that the back of a fireplace, back there where you see the flames are burning, is made out of fire brick, which is a heat intensified readied fire brick that will withstand the hot temperatures that go on within a fireplace without burning it out. And that's a standard feature. We use it a lot. In this particular one, I use the standard colored ones that are available easily and at the lowest prices. And the reason I did that is because those fire brick match the color of the stone very well, which is that sort of tan color. They also make fire brick that is red in color, which is great if you want a brick front for your fireplace, or if the rock you're using is darker in color. And make sure that when your mason or you are building your fire box, that area where the fire is back there, that they lay the brick flat, like a brick is supposed to be laid. You're looking at a brick wall when you're staring at the fireplace, and you don't need to see brick standing on edge like tile in a bathroom. You need them laid flat, one on top of the other, like you would expect brickwork to be done. Also, over at the right-hand side, maybe you can see it back in the corner there, is a fresh air supply inlet. It has a little sliding door on it that you can open, so that will bring air in from the outside in order to feed a fireplace. That's something actually it's been incorporated into the code the last I guess 20 years. Before that, you'll never find a fireplace with one. I never use mine, but code requires that they be in place. And the reason they were invented is because houses got so airtight that there was no air movement to flow in to feed the fire, to go up to carry the ashes and smoke out of the house. And as a result of it, the fireplaces just wouldn't draw enough. And so that allows fresh air from the outside to come in to feed the fire and go up. And admittedly, that's probably pulling in cold air from the outside and sending it up the fireplace instead of drawing the warmer air from your room and out there. But one thing I would notice, and that is, for some reason, everyone seems to think that it belongs dead center of the back of your fireplace. So when you're looking at the fireplace, all you're staring at is that vent door, it's not the prettiest thing to look at. So it doesn't cost any extra to put it around the side, and then it's no longer the center focused a part of your looking at it. Now let's get back to the arch here. The arch, probably about half of the houses I build have an arched fireplace in them, and the other half of it has a lintel stone across there. Let me show you what a picture of one of my fireplaces I built with a lintel stone. Basically what it is, it's a single stone that spans the distance across the fireplace. To tell you the truth, I love both of them, and if I'm building a house that has two fireplaces in it, I'll generally encourage people to have one of each. And generally I'll advise them to go with a lintel stone in their main room downstairs, and for the fireplace that might be upstairs in the bedroom, to go ahead and put a cute arch in that particular room, and it really makes it pop and snazz. The difference, you'll pay more to find a lintel stone that will span across it, and you'll pay more in labor to shape the arch stone that spans across it. There is, of course, the third option that you'll see in many homes, and they'll just run a piece of angle iron across the two, and then they'll space out rocks that go across it. And that's okay. It's a little bit. Your brain is looking at it, whether or not you're aware of it or not, and you're kind of wondering what holds it up. And I can say that I've seen some complex masonry where they've been very creative with shaping stone across an angle iron there, and which I find even more visually distracting. What you're trying to appreciate is the fire, and that the stonework that surrounds the fire is much like a gold frame on an elaborate painting hanging in a museum. And that is, the frame is not the focus of the fire, but nonetheless it frames the fire and it makes it more appealing and richer and more desirable. So you don't want your frame to be so visually distracting that it draws your attention away from the fire, but also you don't want to build your fireplace so cheap and ugly that it ruins the effect of the entire fireplace. And I guess that brings up a good point, and that is the absolute worst thing you can do is to hang a TV set over top of a fireplace. And I can see where that blank space above a fireplace is a tempting magnet. It lures a person in. Gee, it would look great sitting right there, and I've already got furniture oriented toward the fireplace. I can kill two birds with one stone, and so that's a place to put the TV. But a fireplace is the opposite. It is the opposite force of what the electronic world is. And the electronic world draws us in and it distracts us too much from a fireplace. And a fireplace is there to enrich our souls and to give us a place of peace and quiet and contentment. And the allure of having a distracting electronic technology there it's just too harsh of the two worlds composed. It's just not right. It's plastic and iron combined together, and the two shall never meet. So I would dissuade you from that if at all possible. I guess maybe one more point I could make out is on this particular fireplace, again, for this room, I was trying to create a powerful sense. And that meant that I used a stone mantle up on top of the fireplace. My preference in most applications, particularly if you're building in a log cabin and you want the perfect stone fireplace there, is that you want a wood, hand-hewn, antique, vintage mantle piece up on top of it, a single beam or something another, old joist or something another that extends a few inches beyond and an inch or two out from the face of the stonework. And there's something about the blend of wood and stone together that is just so appealing. And the one thing about it is when it comes time to hang those stockings at Christmas time, you have a piece of wood to drive a nice nail in to hold the stockings up. And whereas you got to get pretty creative if you've got a stone beam up on top of it. So one last comment that I can think of is that use real stone. The stone here is 6 to 8 inches wide, which is probably fairly typical of what I do with a fireplace. The stone here, it is cemented in place, but if you were to extract the cement from it, it would stand on its own. In fact, this particular fireplace stood on its own with no cement in an antique mall for probably 6 or 8 years. If you've ever been to that particular mall, maybe you've seen this fireplace standing there, but it stood on its own with no cement there. This is not glued on, stuck on faux rock, and you can tell that when you're here. It's much more attractive. And again, that comes back to what you see is what on your fireplace is what you expect to find in the rest of the home. And if you see glued on rock, you can pretty well assume that the rest of your house is glued together as well. And we don't want to do that. Well, okay, I think that covers just about everything I have to say about achieving the most attractive stone fireplace you possibly can have in your home. I've really enjoyed sharing it with you today. Please come see us on Noah's Handmade Houses on Facebook, handmadehouses.com. And don't forget to keep us in mind for the Handmade House Academy, where you'll learn this and so much more. We'll see you next time on Handmade House TV. Bye now.